4:17 local time. The southern coast of Iran, near the strategic Strait of Hormuz. A coastal defense battery hidden inside a rocky hillside. Its radar sweep painting the night sky in invisible pulses. 3 anti-ship cruise missile launchers, each one capable of sinking a warship from 70 miles away. 72 Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps personnel, heavily armed, dug into defensive positions. And one simple reality: if those missiles launch, the strait closes. Oil prices spike. A U.S. carrier strike group becomes a target. But right now, they don't know what's coming. Because at 4:18, the first MH-60M Black Hawk drops below radar horizon, and inside it, 22 U.S. Army Rangers from B Company, 2nd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, are already standing, already counting down. 15 minutes to insertion. In 14 minutes to first contact. 12 minutes to either success or a firefight that turns this hillside into a kill box. At 4:20, the 2nd Black Hawk peels left, hugging the coastline at 150 feet. Sea spray blurs the windows. The pilots fly blind on NVGs, using terrain masking to stay invisible. Behind them, 2 MH-47G Chinooks carry the assault force. 44 more Rangers, plus a 10-man combat engineer team. Total force, 66 against 72. Nearly 1-to-1. But that's not the imbalance that matters. The imbalance is surprise, speed, violence of action. At 4:22, the lead Black Hawk's crew chief gives the hand signal. 3 minutes. The Rangers check weapons for the 10th time. M4, A1 carbines with suppressors. M320 grenade launchers. M2, 49 SAWs, breaching shotguns. Thermobaric charges for the bunkers. Yet every man carries 7 magazines minimum. The plan is simple. Alpha Team lands on the eastern ridge, takes out the radar and command post. Bravo Team hits the western approach, secures the launcher control room. Charlie Team, the engineers, go straight for the missiles themselves, cut cables, pull firing mechanisms, destroy the launch rails. If all 3 happen within 60 seconds, the battery dies before it can fire a single missile. If not, the Iranians have enough time to send the launch command. 1 signal, that's all it takes. At 4:24, the Black Hawks drop to 50 feet. Rotors churn sand off the water. The pilots execute a pedal turn, exposing the side doors to the shoreline. And then the first rounds crack past the fuselage. Not from the base. From a guard post the intel missed. A single ZU-23 anti-aircraft gun, hidden inside a fake fishing shack, opens up at 800 rounds per minute. Tracers rip through the darkness, green streaks of death. 1 round punches through the cabin floor of the lead Black Hawk, missing the fuel bladder by inches. The crew chief returns fire with the M134 minigun, 3,000 rounds per minute of pure suppression. The ZU-23 gunner keeps firing. At 4:25, the Black Hawk takes a second hit. Hydraulic fluid sprays across the cabin. The pilot fights the controls. The Rangers don't wait. The ramp drops early. 22 men jump 12 feet into the surf, cold water up to their chests, weapons held high, and they're already moving before their boots hit the sand. The Black Hawk limps away trailing smoke. The 2nd Black Hawk covers them, minigun tearing apart the guard post. The gun goes silent. At 4:26, an Alpha Team hits the beach. Staff Sergeant Marcus Cole, squad leader, counts heads in the dark. All 22. No casualties yet. But the sound of the firefight has already alerted the main base. Sirens wail from the hillside. Floodlights snap on, scanning the coastline. Cole gives the signal. Spread out, move fast, don't stop. The Rangers sprint across 200 meters of open ground, boots pounding wet sand, then loose gravel, then rock. The eastern ridge looms above them, a steep climb of crumbling shale and scattered boulders. At 4:28, the first RPG screams over their heads. It impacts 50 meters behind them, throwing a geyser of sand and shrapnel. Second RPG. Third. The Iranians have the range now. Cole yells into the radio. Alpha to actual, we're taking effective fire from the ridgeline. Need suppression from the Chinooks. At 4:29, the first MH-47G Chinook thunders over the beach. Its ramp gunner opens up with an M240, hammering the ridgeline. The 2nd Chinook drops altitude, side gunners engaging the launcher positions. 50 caliber rounds tear into the hillside, shredding sandbags and concrete fragments. The RPG fire doesn't stop, but it falters. That's enough. Alpha Team sprints harder, lungs burning, gear rattling. Private First Class David Tran is the first to reach the base of the ridge. He drops to one knee and provides cover fire. 3-round bursts at the muzzle flashes above. The rest of the team spreads into a wedge formation and starts climbing. At 4:31, they're halfway up when the first Iranian counterattack hits. 6 soldiers wearing civilian clothes under their chest rigs rush down the slope firing AKs from the hip. Close range. He's 20 meters. Cole drops 2 with a single magazine. Another ranger takes a round to his plate carrier, staggers but keeps moving. Return fire cuts down 3 more. The last Iranian turns to run, and a sniper from the Chinook's ramp drops him with a single shot to the back of the head. At 4:33, Alpha Team reaches the radar array. It's a P-18 radar system, Russian-made, mounted on a concrete pad. 2 antennas rotating slowly, feeding targeting data to the missile launchers. A small command bunker sits 20 meters away, reinforced concrete with a steel door. Cole signals the breacher. Specialist Ryan Hicks places a 12-pound thermobaric charge against the door, pulls the pin, and sprints back. The explosion at 0434 is deafening, a rolling shockwave that sucks the air out of the space before blasting the door inward. 4 Rangers pour through the smoke, M4 sweeping. 3 Iranian operators, dazed and bleeding from their ears, try to reach for weapons. They don't make it. The bunker is cleared in 4 seconds. Hicks places a second charge on the radar's control console. 15 seconds later, the P-18 goes dark. The antennas stop spinning. The Iranian air defense network just lost its eyes. But at 4:36, Bravo Team is in trouble. They hit the western approach 2 minutes late because of the ZU-23. Now they're pinned down behind a low stone wall, 70 meters from the launcher control room. 2 machine gun nests have them bracketed from elevated positions. PKM fire chews the top of the wall, sending stone fragments into faces and hands. Sergeant First Class Miguel Ortiz calls for smoke. 4 M83 grenades pop, laying down a white curtain. Under cover of the smoke, Bravo Team bounds forward in pairs. First 2 men run 10 meters, drop, provide cover. Next 2 run past them, drop, cover, repeat. At 4:38, they reach the control room building. It's a single-story structure, cinder block with firing ports cut into the walls. The Iranians inside are expecting a frontal assault. Instead, Ortiz sends 2 Rangers around the back with a sledgehammer and a breaching shotgun. The back wall is weaker, concrete block, not reinforced. At 4:40, the sledgehammer punches a hole through the blocks. A shotgun blast widens it. A flashbang goes in. The explosion and white light stun the defenders. 2 Rangers follow through the hole, firing as they enter. The control room falls in under 10 seconds. Ortiz keys his radio. Bravo to Charlie, control room is yours. Repeat, control room is secure. At 4:41, Charlie Team, the 10 combat engineers, splits into 3 groups. Each group sprints toward a different missile launcher. The launchers are mobile, TELs mounted on heavy trucks, each one carrying 2 Noor anti-ship missiles. Range of 120 kilometers, 200-kilogram warheads, enough to sink a destroyer. The launchers are positioned in revetments, angled toward the strait. Charlie Team's job is simple: render them unable to fire. Permanent destruction. Group 1 reaches Launcher A at 4:42. Specialist Kevin Miller pops the control panel cover and starts cutting wires with insulated shears. The firing circuit, the guidance link, the arming mechanism. Another engineer attaches demolition charges to the missile canisters themselves, C4 with a 30-second fuse. At 4:43, the Iranian Quick Reaction Force arrives. Yep, 2 technicals, Toyota Hilux trucks with DSHK heavy machine guns mounted in the beds, roar down the access road. They open fire from 200 meters. 12.7mm rounds tear through the revetment. Miller takes a round through his left bicep. He keeps cutting. Another engineer pulls him behind the launcher and slaps a tourniquet on. The rest of the team returns fire, M4s against heavy machine guns. It's not enough. The technicals keep coming. At 4:44, the second Chinook drops altitude and engages. Its forward machine gunner walks 50 caliber rounds into the lead technical. The truck explodes. Fuel tank ignites, sending a fireball 50 feet into the air. The second technical swerves, crashes into a boulder, and the crew bails out. The Chinook's minigun cuts them down before they take 3 steps. Miller, bleeding but conscious, finishes the wire cuts and gives the signal. The engineers pull back to 40 meters. The charges detonate at 0446. Launcher A disappears in a cloud of fire and twisted metal. The missile canisters cook off, sending the warheads flying in random directions. One lands in the water 200 meters offshore. Another impacts the hillside and creates a secondary explosion that shakes the entire base. At 4:47, Group 2 reaches Launcher B, but this one is already rotating. The Iranians are trying to fire. A launch operator sits in the cab of the TEL, hands on the firing console. The missile tubes are elevating, angling toward the strait, toward the carrier strike group 60 miles away. Sergeant First Class Dane Williams doesn't hesitate. He runs straight at the cab, M4 slung, draws his M17 pistol, and fires through the window. 3 rounds. The operator slumps over the console, but the launch sequence is already in progress. A green light on the console starts flashing. Williams smashes the window with his rifle butt, reaches inside, and starts ripping cables. The light keeps flashing. 8 seconds left. 5 seconds. Williams pulls the entire firing module out of the console. Sparks fly. The light goes dead. 3 seconds to launch. He just stopped a missile that would have killed 200 American sailors. At 4:48, Group 3 hits Launcher C. No resistance here. The Iranians assigned to this position have already fled. But they did something worse. Before running, they opened the manual launch override. A small panel on the side of the TEL, unlocked with a key, allows for emergency firing without the control room. The missile tubes are already raised. The arming switches are flipped. All that's missing is someone to push the button. But the engineers don't know that. They approach the launcher, demo charge is ready, and one of them trips a wire. Not a booby trap, a communication wire leading back to a secondary firing position 50 meters away, where 3 Iranian soldiers are hiding behind a rock. They see the engineers, they see the launcher, and one of them reaches for the firing trigger. At 4:49, Staff Sergeant Cole's voice comes over the radio from the eastern ridge. All teams, this is Alpha. We have eyes on a secondary firing post. They have a remote trigger. Engage immediately. But Charlie Team is too close to the launcher. If the Iranians trigger the missile now, the backblast alone will kill every engineer within 30 meters. Williams, still bleeding from glass cuts on his hand, sees the secondary position and makes a decision. He pulls a 40mm smoke grenade from his vest, loads it into his M320, and fires. The round lands directly on the rock. Smoke billows, blinding the Iranian triggerman. He fires blind. The missile ignites, but without proper targeting, it flies wild, straight up, 200 feet. Then it stalls, loses thrust, and falls back down. It impacts 50 meters from the launcher, the warhead detonating in a massive orange fireball. The shockwave throws Williams into the air. He lands hard on his back, ears ringing, vision blurred. He's alive. The engineers are alive. Launcher C is still standing, but the missile that almost killed them is gone. At 4:51, yet the engineers regroup and finish the job. Thermite grenades on the remaining missile canisters, demo charges on the launch rails, cutting torches through the hydraulic systems. Launcher B goes first. A series of small explosions as the hydraulic fluid ignites. Launcher C follows 30 seconds later. By 4:53, all 3 launchers are smoking wrecks. The radar is destroyed. The command post is overrun. The Iranian defenders are either dead, wounded, or fleeing into the dark hills. But the mission isn't over, because the extraction point is 2 kilometers down the beach, and there are still hostiles between the Rangers and their Chinooks. At 4:55, the Rangers consolidate. 66 went in, 62 are still on their feet. 4 walking wounded, including Miller with the through and through to his arm. 2 more are being carried. One with a broken leg from the jump, another with a concussion from the missile backblast. They move in a staggered column, hugging the waterline, NVG scanning the darkness. The Iranians aren't finished. From the north, the sound of engines. Multiple engines, trucks, reinforcements from a nearby garrison. Intelligence said 45 minutes. They're here in 38. The first truck crests the ridgeline, headlights cutting through the dark. Then a second, a third. A platoon-sized element, maybe 40 fighters with heavy weapons. At 4:57, the Chinooks come in hot, ramps down, door gunners blazing. The Rangers sprint for the ramps, dragging the wounded, firing from the hip at muzzle flashes in the dark. Cole is the last man on the beach, providing cover fire as the second Chinook lifts off. He empties his magazine, sprints the last 10 meters, and dives onto the ramp as the helicopter banks hard. Rounds ping off the fuselage. Then the Chinook is over the water, climbing, leaving the burning base behind. At 5:02, the strike group gets the word. 3 launchers destroyed. Radar neutralized. No U.S. casualties killed in action. 4 wounded, all expected to recover. The strait remains open. The oil tankers keep moving. And the Iranian coastal defense battery, years of construction, millions of dollars of equipment, 72 trained soldiers, is nothing but a debris field and a list of names. The Rangers are already back at the staging base, already reloading, already waiting for the next mission. Because that's what they do. They don't celebrate. They don't rest. They clean their weapons, check their gear, back and study the next target. The Iranians learned something tonight, not about tactics, not about technology. They learned that when the Rangers come, there's no warning, no negotiation, no surrender. There's only the breach, the firefight, and the cold, smoking wreckage of everything they thought would protect them. Mission complete.